Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear watcher, dear subscriber, myself, Professor Raza, motivational speaker, leadership, business coach, and education. I'm hoping that you will be in the high state of iman and health, and I'm praying for you for it. So today, this is my third video of Great Expectation, and we are going to read the first chapter of Great Expectation. Great Expectations by. So let's get started. The escaped prisoner. In the churchyard, first line is going to be start. It was a cold, wet and grey afternoon evening. It was alone churchyard. My father, mother and full died and were buried in the place. I had gone to the churchyard too. Fifth line ended here. Look at their graves. Beyond were the marshes, dark, flat fields with streams running between them. I could see a few cows here, see no people anywhere. Further beyond the field was the river. A cold wind was blowing in from the sea. As I sat in that sad, dark, lonely place, I began to feel afraid. I started to cry. Stop that noise! A fierce voice suddenly shouted. A man jumped on the gravestones, wearing rough, dirty clothes. His shoes were old and had no. On his leg was a heavy iron chain. He was an escaped prisoner. Before I could run away, he caught hold of me. Keep still, you little devil, or I will cut your throat, he shouted. Page number 1. I think line number 20 ended here. And now page number 2. Please don't cut my throat. Please don't cut my throat. Sir, don't kill me. Tell me your name. Quick now. Pip, sir. Pip, sir. Pip, is it? He searched through my pockets, which contained only a piece of bread. He ate the bread hungrily, as if days I fell onto the ground, trembling with fear. You, young dog, growled the prisoner. What fat cheeks you have, maybe I'll eat you too. Now, here, your mother. There, sir, I said. He jumped up and started to run away. The cruel young man. When the prisoner saw that no one was following him, he stopped and looked back. My mother is there, sir, I said, pointing to the grave. And my father is besides her. He said, coming back. Then who do you live with? My sister, sir, Joe Gargari. She is married to Joe Gargari. I live with them at the forge, sir. Blacksmith? He looked down. He looked down at the chain on his leg, and then he looked at me. A blacksmith will have tools for making iron, I think. Now listen to me carefully. Yes, sir, I answered. And food? Do you know what food is? Yes, sir. Then get me a file and some food. If you don't, I'll cut your heart out. Bring them to me early tomorrow morning. Come to that old building And the marshes, don't tell anyone that you have seen me, and I'll not hurt you. Yeah, yes, sir. Don't think that I'm all on my own. There's a young man hiding in that building with me. He's far than I am. Oh, he's cruel. Oh, no. A boy might lock his door and hide in his warm bed with the a boy might think himself all comfortable and safe, but that young man will softly creep nearer and nearer and then jump on him and tear him open. When we saw you just now, the cruel young man wanted you. It was very hard for me to stop him. So what do you say? Will you bring me what I want? I promised to bring the file and the food as he asked. If you don't, you remember what I've done. Go home. I ran home as fast as I could. Joe and Mrs. Joe, my sister, before this the ending line was 20 on page number 3, and now 23 or 24 number line. My sister was more than 20 years older than me, and she was not a good looking woman. She was tall and thin with a red face and a very bad temper. Joe, ending of line 20. But I'm just telling it to you because you are very far from me, and we are creating a distance learning program. So you are very far from me. So I've just announced a line number because you are there and you can find the line and you will be with me as early as possible. Himself was big, strong man, but he was kind and gentle. Joe and I were friends. When I got home from the churchyard, the forge was closed. I could not get the file. I went to our house and found Joe sitting alone in the kitchen. Mrs. Joe is looking for you outside, Pip, he said sadly. Page number 4. Is she? I asked. Yes, Pip. And she has got the stick with her. Been gone a long time, Joe. Well, she has been outside for about 5 minutes, Pip, replied Joe. Then suddenly he said, she is coming, quick, hide behind the door, Pip. I hid behind the door and my sister came in. Have you been? She shouted. I've been worried sick about you. I've only been to the churchyard, I said. Churchyard, shouted my sister. If I had not taken care of you, you would have been buried in the churchyard. You would have. There was no one else to take care of it. I looked out towards the marshes. I thought of my prisoner and the terrible young man. And the file, the food, and the promise I had made. Miss Joe was putting our supper on the table. I sat beside Joe. He looked at me and at his wife and then looked down at me. Joe was the strongest man I have ever known, but he was very afraid of my sister. I was hungry. I did not eat the bread that my sister had cut for me. I had to keep it for my prisoner and for his friend. They were found out. I decided to put my bread and butter in my pocket. Afterwards, I ran upstairs and hid it in my room. Another escape. After supper, I sat beside the fire. It was very cold night. Suddenly, we heard gunfire. I asked, why are the gun firing? It is to tell people that another prisoners had escaped. answered, "A prisoner ran away last night too? I heard the shots." I kept quiet for some time. Then I asked, where do those shoots come from?" "From the prison ship on the river near the marshes," my sister replied sharply. She did not like me. Put into who are put into prison ship. Why are they put there? People are put into prison ship because they kill other people and they steal things from other people, said my sister. They do all kinds of bad things. Bad people are always put into prison ship, and bad people are always asking questions. So you stop asking questions and go to bed. The young man. Page number 5. The young man. Topic on page number 5. The next morning I woke up very early and went downstairs. I stole a pie and wrapped it in a piece of cloth. Then I looked for something to give the prisoner to drink. There was a large stone jar of brandy in the kitchen. I poured some into an empty bottle and took that. There was a door to the forge. I went through and took one of Joe's files. Then I ran to the marshes. Page number 5 ended. Page number 6. Line number wet, misty morning. The mist was so thick that I did not see the signpost pointing back to our village until I went. When I reached the marshes, it was very worse. It was so misty that I could not see my way. I had often been, line number 500, 6 started. I had often been to the old building on Sundays with Joe. I knew the place well, but because of the mist, I lost my way and I had to walk back along the riverside. I walked quickly. Suddenly, I saw a man sitting in front of me. His as if he was asleep. His back was towards me. I thought it was my prisoner, so I went up softly and touched him on the shoulder. He jumped to his feet and once and turned round. He was not that man. He was not the man I had met. He was also dressed in rough and had a chain on his leg like a prisoner, but on the side of his face was a deep cut. The stranger gave a terrible cry and tried to hit me, but he must have been very weak because he missed me and almost fell down. Then he ran away into the mist. "It's the young man," I thought and trembled. I ran to the building and found prisoners waiting. I gave him the file. He seized the food I gave him and ate it as if he was dying. He was dying. He was dying from hunger. The topic is ended on page number 6. Another topic started from and 25 number line has ended before this. I feel sorry for the prisoner. "What is the bottle, boy?" he asked. "Brandy," I replied. He stopped eating and drank some of the brandy. He was shaking because of the cold and could not still while he was drinking. "I think you are ill," I said. "I think I'm, boy. It's very wet around here," I told him. "You shouldn't have been lying on the wet ground." "Well, then, I'll eat my breakfast before I die of the cold. If they were going to hang me, I would still want to eat my breakfast first. That's the truth." He ate very fast. Then suddenly he stopped eating. He looked around quickly like a dog that has heard something suspicious. "Have you brought anyone with you?" he asked. No, sir, no," I cried. "Well, I believe you, he said. You are too young to take pleasure in seeing a poor prisoner caught by the soldiers. I don't think you would bring soldier to hurt for me. Watching him eat the pie, I'm glad you are enjoying it. Thank you, my boy. The other prisoner. Another topic is starting from the page number 7. This is the second last topic of this chapter number 1. After a while I asked, aren't you giving it to your friend? He stopped eating. My friend? He asked to the young man, the one you talked about yesterday. Oh, him, he said and laughed. He doesn't want any food, but he looked very hungry. Sir, stopped eating. He started at me. Looked. You mean you saw him when he asked just now? Where? Over there. Over there. I pointed. I found him asleep. I thought it was you. Page number 7 ended. Page number 8. He caught hold of me and like, quick boy, he was dressed like you and he had a chain on his leg too. Didn't you hear the gun shoots last night? So there were shoots last night, he said to himself. That means that somebody else has escaped from the prison ship. This topic is ended. The new topic is the prisoner tries to free himself and asked, what about his face, Pip? Was there anything strange about his face? There was a cut on it on the left side. Ah, where is he now? Show me the way he went. He put the remaining food inside his coat. I pointed in where the other man had gone. Line number 15 ended. He started into the mist. He stared into the mist. Then he took the file and started to rub it against the chain on his leg to cut it free. He did not pay any attention to, so I decided to go. The last I saw of him, he was sitting there in the mist as he tried to cut through the chain. I walked a little way, then stopped and looked back. He was hidden by the mist and I could not see him, but I could still hear the sound made by the file on the chain. Dear watcher, this subscribe the chapter 1, and now I'm going to reveal some writer's code. As you know that in our introduction of Charles Dickens, that his father was sent to jail and he remained there for a long time. So in this chapter 1, he is very humble to a prisoner to show sympathy to his father. This is the writer was sent to jail and there he was humiliated. So he want to give a message. He described to a particular way that the prisoners prisoners are also human being. As a human being, they should not be humiliated. They should be praised well. As a human being, be characterized well. Although they have a bad thing to them, they have bad habits, they have many bad habits and so on. But as a human being, they should be treated well. They should not be treated humiliated. They should not be treated in. Also, he is a prisoner, but being a human being, and as a prisoner, he is also a human being. So, being as a mankind, that should be treated well. This is a writer quote that he want to pay and he want to pay attributes to his father. that my father got humiliation in his so prisoners come to you, then first of all think as human being to him or to her, and then think that. So this is the writer code. And the second thing is that Pip to his father and mother very curiously or very angrily or very aggressively. What does that mean? That means that Charles Dickens is trying to say something about his father and mother, and harshly or but not very soberly, because they have many childs, round about 7. So there was a very difficulty to them to create or to treat their children well. So that was difficult to father of Charles Dickens. So he is trying to point out some miserable conditions of his past and some futuristic approach for future, for the next generation. And this was a very great thing that writers think about the future, and writers approach should be futuristic approach, and then you would be create a story that will impact the whole society, the whole county, the whole community. So dear watcher, dear subscriber, this was the reading of the chapter number 1 of the Great Expectations. So I will create another video about the chapter number 2, Christmas Day, and the so on. So let me go now. And if you are a new watcher, new subscriber to my channel, then subscribe and hit the bell icon to get the latest video notification as early as possible, so as soon as possible for you. And if you have any question regarding it, you can ask me through comment box, and I'll try my best to your desire and to complete and to give you the answer of your question. Try to analyze your comment. So if you want else, I'll give you my email address, or my email address is available in the about section of the channel, so you can also get from there and you can mail me. And at the end, let me go now and say with me, long life Pakistan, long life Pakistan.